Thank you very much. Still a last-minute intervention by Mr. Batten.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First of all, what we're listening to here today is people who don't want Britain to leave the European Union and will do everything they possibly can to prevent it happening. Well, I've got a simple question, but I'd like to just make a couple of comments, if I may, on what's been said before, because we've heard some things about division in society in the UK. Well, I can reassure you it's not as divided as you might think. There is a division between the people who voted to leave and the political class and the media class, especially in the broadcast media, who actually don't want us to leave, and themselves will do whatever they can to prevent it. But I can assure you that although I don't want another referendum, if there was one, the Leave side would win by a much bigger majority. Now, we've heard that we need constitutional reform in the UK, which is something I actually agree with and something I've argued for a long time. We need some kind of proportional representation. One of the political institutions that opposes exit from the EU, of course, is the House of Lords, which is doing everything it can to thwart it and prevent it. And they don't represent anybody but themselves, having been appointed. And, of course, there are a large number of people there who enjoy EU pensions and are not supposed to say anything against the EU under the terms of the pension that they receive. So I don't think it's a very fair system that we've got in the UK. And if it was reformed, you would find a much higher number of leavers in the House of Commons and in the House of Lords if they were elected on a proportional representation system. Comment on the way the referendum was conducted, and again, quite right, it was conducted unfairly, but for different reasons than my colleagues were saying. Over £9 million was spent on a booklet from the government arguing that we should stay in, which was sent to every household, where the Leave side had no such corresponding advantage or amount of money. We saw that the Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, was headed up a Project Fear campaign with the civil service behind him producing figures, which in actual fact now have been utterly and totally discredited. And instead of there being an economic downturn because of Brexit, we're actually seeing employment up and investment up. So these people misused the services of the state in order to advance an argument which has now proved to be false. So in actual fact, it was unfairly conducted, I agree with you, and it was unfairly conducted on the part of the Remain side, and nevertheless Leave managed to win. Now my question is very simple really. It's regarding this withdrawal agreement, the final version of it, and this proposed association agreement. Now, Mr Hofstadt, I think, said that this has to be agreed in June, by the 26th of June, with the Council meeting. It certainly has to be voted on in the Parliament in autumn, by the autumn, because Britain is supposed to leave on the 29th of March 2019. Now, I can foresee a situation where we could end up with a withdrawal agreement, which is something I've been warning against for some years, ever since this process started, even before the referendum, that if we ended up with a withdrawal agreement, it could well be a withdrawal agreement whereby we don't really leave at all. It's a withdrawal agreement in name, but we don't actually leave. We stay in reality. And this is where we seem to be guided to now, not just by Mr Hofstadt, but our own government, who are caving in on everything and are completely and utterly useless in these negotiations. Now, my question is this. When that withdrawal agreement comes before Parliament, I can foresee that there will be people in the Parliament who will vote against it because they think it doesn't go far enough. And there will be people who vote against it, for example, something I might do, because it goes too far. So if it is actually defeated in the Parliament in the autumn, but Britain is leaving on the 29th of March, what are you going to do? What's going to be your stance on this? Because the British government stance should be, then, that we leave under our terms, not yours. But I'm very interested to know what you're going to do if this withdrawal agreement is rejected in the Parliament and we're back to square one where we were on the 26th of June 2016.